shall be set right.
Higher, further, faster, baby. Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Welcome everybody, it is the Infinity Gauntlet Snap Arena Draft Invitational where we have gathered 8 of your favorite content creators in this 2-day event to compete for a $500 prize pool. I am your host, Christo. I am joined here by Raven and KMBest. Now, Raven, you were the first person to introduce me to the draft format. Can you walk us through a little bit around what that entails?
So the draft format was made by a Korean designer called Kai, and was basically kind of commissioned by a Korean Snap streamer called Pusa, who then ran a lot of tournaments, and it was a super cool, different way to play Snap. So basically what you do is both players join, and then they have their shared card pool, which is a card pool built of all of the cards that both players own, which is important to know. So you can play against your friends in this format if, say, one of you is only still early series 3 and the other one has a lot of cards. So what the tool does is it creates a pool of 48 total cards, and then pretty simply what happens is one player starts, picks a card, takes it off the board to be chosen by their opponent, and then the next player picks 2 cards, and it snake drafts all the way down until the players have a full deck. And the big thing about this is you have a limited time to choose your card, so this puts a lot of pressure, because I've played this format a fair bit and it is painful to be time pressured into making the right choice. So not only do you have to think about the overall build of what your deck will look like, you have to worry about the time that you have to make those decisions, and also you need plans to be prepared if your opponent then takes a card you wanted to take on your turn, because then you don't get to play with it. So a lot of pressure, a lot of things to think about from these players, but basically the format ends with a lot of power coming from who made the best deck.
Right on. And now these players are going to be redrafting in each series. So you're going to draft in the quarterfinal, you're going to draft again in the semifinal, you're going to draft again in the final. So the players are going to have the opportunity to maybe test some things out as they go. Now, KM, if you're staring at that draft screen and you've got the countdown, going, pressuring you into making that choice, what are you looking for in the pool to try and build a strong list?
It starts with looking for cards that are just strong in a vacuum. One card that I expect to see picked very early, if Dr. Doom shows up in any of these pools, Dr. Doom's going to go off the board pretty early. Another unique twist that this format has that other sort of formats may not is there's a lot of emphasis on just being able to take game actions reliably. So cards like Medusa and Cloak are not cards that you're going to be seeing played on turn 2 in a lot of normal Marvel Snap games, but this is the kind of format where you just need something good to be doing a lot of the time. You're going to be seeing a lot of those kind of 2-cost cards would be my expectation. And of course, the big irreplaceable 6-cost cards, Magneto, Dr. Doom, the cards that are mostly good in whatever it is that you want to do have a lot higher value in a format like this, because picking them denies them to your opponent.
The huge aspect of it as well, not only picking the best cards you can, but denying your opponent's strategy, potentially what they're digging for as well. So let's dive into the bracket. Let's take a look at the 8 players that will be competing here today. First up, we're going to see Nicholena taking on OrdinaryHarry. We've got Freddybabes taking on Kawa, Speci against Nina, and Lamby taking on Bynx. Speci and Nina already had a little smack talk before the event even started, so I expect that one to be a little bit of a tense matchup. But Raven, anything else you see here that really sticks out to you? Any specific player or matchup that you think could be interesting?
Yeah, I think the first thing that jumps out is what a lineup. When I saw what the lineup was for this tournament, I was like, oh, great. It's just a ton of fantastic, not only players, but also creators. The big player in terms of potential winner to keep an eye on is Lambyseries. Not only do I know for a fact he has played a lot of this format, but also he's just an exceptional Snap player who has got plenty of tournament wins to his name anyway. And then also Kawa as well, because Kawa has just recently actually won a Snap tournament. Obviously not draft, but still. But I know Kawa plays just a ton of battle mode with a ton of different decks as well. He isn't like a one deck Andy or anything like that. So I think Kawa, although definitely more known for his sort of content creator side, is definitely a danger to look out for.
And that's a great point, Raven. These are all fantastic content creators as well for the most part. So we have encouraged the players to make their own content based around this event. So while you will see the 2-day event premiere on 983's YouTube page, keep an eye out for your creators putting out their own spin on things, maybe a little behind the scenes, the thought process around the draft and all that good stuff. KM, just before we get into the first matchup, same question to you. Anything specific that you see in this lineup that you think could be of note?
So I would also want to highlight Lambyseries, but I think a couple other players that have not been highlighted yet are actually playing in our first matchup. Both Nicholena and OrdinaryHarry are tournament winners. Nicholena won the Quantum Cup. OrdinaryHarry won the first Creator Clash, interestingly organized by Kawa. And I think that there are just, generally speaking, a lot of really talented players in this bracket. While I do agree someone like Lambyseries, former Hearthstone Grandmaster, makes a lot of sense as an early pick, I think there's a ton of room for skill expression and variety to show up with this kind of player pool and this kind of format.
Beautiful. So if the player is eliminated today, they will unfortunately not take part in that prize pool. We will be paying out the top 4. So they're looking to get that first win under their belt, get into the money and get into day 2. So why don't we kick things off here, get into the draft and take a look at what Nicholena and OrdinaryHarry pull to be able to set themselves up for success in this first series.
Yeah, so the first thing here I can tell you about this draft mode when it starts is life comes at you fast, right? You learn pretty quickly that you suck at drafting, or at least I did straight away. We can see a Nebula picked up from Nicholena as pick 1, but then going forward, you're going to get double picks going on there. Yeah, so Harry's got Dr. Doom and She-Hulk, and already Lightning Speed coming out here with the Devil Dinosaur for Nicholena as well.
That is phenomenal. The Super Scroll from OrdinaryHarry in direct response to the Devil Dinosaur from Nicholena. He even gets the Sentinel, preventing that dino from being big for Nicholena, but it making the Super Scroll dino very dangerous for him.
Oh, what is Nicholena looking for? Because there's an Infinite there, I guess, to just go for the big slap down with the power. I'm really shocked so far for me that no one's picking Captain Marvel. It's a card I rate very highly in a format like this because your opponent, most of the time, just can't answer it. Oh, there we go. Harry picks it up there because it's just, you play it, and in those matchups where you've got awkward locations, you just go, okay, there you go. Marvel wins that. Now Harry's got Marvel and Doom. So if there's any dodgy locations going on here, Nicolena's almost probably going to be forced to retreat.
I'm a little bit surprised Harry went for the Blade over the Iron Fist there. That felt like, I mean, I guess it makes sense in the context of I have Crossbones, but I felt like his deck was so much better that he just wanted to keep variance low rather than introducing it.
Yeah, I actually wondered if this was more of a turn 6 option that isn't Doom, right? So if you don't have Doom, you can have, 5-drop, 1-drop, 4-drop, 1-drop, whatever to just spread some power around. But already, as we kick it off with game, or round number 1, should I say, Iceman going to start splurging the yogurt out, or whatever he is made of in that image, all over there. So that's going to start causing some issues. As what got hit? Okay. Wait, what got hit here? It's hard to tell now. Oh, Moon Girl got hit, right? It was hard to tell with Elysium proccing what actually got hit by Iceman.
Just the world's most annoying cloning vats. I've never seen a cloning vats that's this brutal for both players. Multiple Scorpions, multiple Icemans. We're living in Camartage right now.
Yeah, I think Cyclops into cloning vats is very strong, and I'm actually a little bit surprised Nicolena's not going for that because there's already 2 targets to hit. So I think like Cyclops there, and then maybe put another Cyclops in Elysium or another one in cloning vats, really drill that down and then go for something big on another location. But I think the worry here is Nicholena doesn't have any big cards for turn 6.
Moon Girl hit again, and now it is, I believe, a 6-cost Moon Girl but Elysium is making it cost 5.
Oh, look at this Spider-Woman, though, coming down from Harry on cloning vats. Again, I think this is just a ton of pressure coming down because Spider-Woman and then the threat of another Spider-Woman. There's still options here, especially with Elysium. There's Medusa and Sentinel for turn 5 and 6. Like, that's just a lot of power. And I think this is what you were saying earlier, KM, where Harry's kind of goodcards.com style of deck, at least at surface level, seems to be, guess what? Doing good.
Yeah, the fact that he has that, like, we're looking at a potential Doctor Doom into Doctor Doom here, which is just ridiculous. We're looking at, like, maybe Captain Marvel into Doctor Doom. We go back to what we talked about with just the value of those 6-cost cards in the format, because if you can play Doctor Doom, it's not just playing Doctor Doom, which is good normally in Marvel Snap. It's also saying your opponent doesn't have this card. And knowing that makes Doctor Doom even more valuable than he normally would be.
And the biggest problem as well is there are certain cards after a draft, at least it's happened to me, where you look at them and say, if my opponent plays this, I just don't have an answer, because guess what? That's how draft works. And I feel like Nicholena has, at least at a glance, I know we're only one round in, but is fallen into that, where if Harry plays Captain Marvel into Doom, as just like not even in this round, but just on average, that is such a tough curve to beat, because it's such a wide power spread with the flexible Marvel that's like, well, what's the plan to beat that? I guess it's just big cards with the likes of Magneto, the Devil Dinosaur as well that's in the deck somewhere. So I guess that's the plan, but it's going to be very, very tricky. As it looks like Harry is in a pretty solid position here as we go into turn 6, because that's 5/5/5.
Yeah, the existence of the Super Skrull in Harry's deck is, I think, sort of the great equalizer there. I think Nicholena would be able to go over the top if it weren't for that Super Skrull, because, you know, we have Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. We've got stuff, but then if Harry goes Super Skrull, Captain Marvel, Doctor Doom, I mean, we're going to have to really pull some tricky Magneto things off there.
Do you like this from... Oh, yeah, I guess it's fine, actually. Yeah, I didn't realize the Medusa was that low. I think extra power mid feels pretty good to me from Harry.
I don't hate any of this, honestly. I think it's pretty much just guessing where the power is going to go. And I mean, we're reasonably expecting that this Doctor Doom is going to win the cloning vats. We are reasonably expecting that if we put 13 in the Murder World, we can just win the Elysium. There's not really a way that we can lose one of the other 2 lanes. So splitting the power like this makes sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those situations, and I'm sure, you know, we've all been there, is there are multiple ways to win, pick one sort of scenario here. So, yeah, not too much of a surprise going on here. But Nicholena doing their best, but they are going to take that first 2 damage. So first blood being drawn by Harry. And again, this was just round 1. There's potentially plenty more left. But just looking at that so far, you think, wow, Harry's just built a good deck.
I don't even know if it's so much that he's built a good deck. What really strikes me again, like what I feel like was the pivotal moment in the draft, was the taking of that Super Skrull. I would feel so much better. Double snaps coming in, it seems, or just
the one, right?
Just one snap, the one snap coming in from Harry here, and that is, I mean, I think that's just look at that Atalan. I 1, 2, 3 curve, and I'm not going to be that sad about this.
And also, Harry is an absolute nightmare to play against a lot of the time, because he has no qualms about just snapping. If his hand looks just okay, snap. It's fine, because he puts pressure on players. He's done this since, I think, the beginning of battle mode when I was playing him early on. He will just aggressively snap because he just wants to sort of assert that dominance, because you do, depending on what type of player you are, you might start to respond emotionally, right? Which is what you want people to do. And you might think, oh God, they've snapped. They've just destroyed me in the first round. Then is my hand good enough? Oh, probably not. I can't lose more health again. I'll retreat. And then Harry's like kind of gained a free damage. So it's definitely something that Harry likes to do a lot. But Nicholena thinking about what's going to come down here. I think... what do you think about just not playing this Yondu, KM? Because I think the knowledge is so strong if Yondu can be played into Kamatage and just say, these are 2 cards that are not going to be played against me this round.
It's weird. I actually sort of agree that I would want to be playing Yondu into Kamatage here. I don't know but I think in the scenario that I want to play Yondu and Kamatage, I don't want to be playing Arm there, and that is a great example of why I wouldn't want to be doing that, because now we have this lane locked up. Harry can pretty much win it for free, I think.
Yeah, no big hits there from Yondu, right? It was the Medusa and the Invisible Woman, so nothing to write home about, unfortunately. So Nicholena knows that there's still Doctor Doom on the board with Kamatage, which is exceptionally scary. I'm even wondering... Wait, the snap was turn 1, right?
The snap was turn 1. It was not I snapped on Polaris Kamatage, so...
It was more just like, with these decks, does Nicholena retreat if she sees Kamatage and then snap, just because Doom exists, right? Like, is that worth a retreat? It's spicy, isn't it?
The Squirrel Girl, like the interesting thing that I found about this game is Polaris Camartage after a Squirrel Girl is just absolutely brutal. I didn't even think about that. And it's clear that's where Harry was going with once the Camartage flipped up and the Squirrel Girl was revealed. It's clear he was hoping to lock that lane up, and he certainly seems to have. Yep, it's a Doctor Doom.
And I cannot see a way to get around this. There's the second A-bomb, which is obviously, quite strong. Being able to go Abomination is strong, but again, it's the spread, right? Harry's already ahead on board in 2 locations. Obviously, Camotage by 1, but that's a given. So how do you even fight back, right? If a Doom is played, that's a problem. If Doom's not played, then we can discuss, but is Nicholena really going to gamble for more health on whether there's Doom or not? I think no is the correct response.
Yeah, I think I'm down with staying after that snap, but I definitely don't think I'm down with finishing that game.
Yes. Here we quickly go into round 3, though. There's the Devil Dinosaur. Olympia going to help out with some card draw. There's another turn 1 snap. But again, it's because the deck allows him to do this to a large extent. If you look at this, there's Medusa for 2 or Sentinel, depending on what Harry wants. Then there's 3 drop and then giga powerful late game, whether that be Spider-Woman, Captain Marvel, and then Doom. Like one of the options there. So I mean, Harry's just in a great situation.
It might just be Snap on Doom. Like it might actually. Be that simple
you could.
Here.
It depends how far you want to push it, but again, because Doom, I think, is the only 6 drop in Harry's deck. If that is drawn, he's so likely to draw a curve to build into that Doom that I would agree with that, actually.
I'm interested to see how the She-Hulk impacts here. We can go for the She-Hulk, or we can just go for our normal curve. One thing I'm not seeing a lot of is cards that are not our optimal curve being played from Harry. Like basically every game has been like, look, we're gonna play, maybe 1-drop, 2-drop Polaris, or 2-drop Polaris, Spider-Woman Doom, 2-drop Polaris, Captain Marvel Doom. We even get a Crossbones in the middle if we really want to do it here.
I like it. I think She-Hulk was very much a backup plan for Harry in terms of the pick, because you can't reliably do crazy She-Hulk things, right? There was a Moon Girl, but obviously Nicholena picked Moon Girl up. But She-Hulk never feels good unless you've got nothing to do on turn 4 and you happen to have, floated some mana or get it down turn 5. But I think Harry's deck, at least in the round so far, has given him more than enough to do that trying to take smaller or lighter turns just to get She-Hulk down seems excessive when he just doesn't need to.
So one of the things that I've learned in this format is that sometimes you just sort of feel like your deck is that much better. And I kind of wonder if Harry's not feeling that right now. He's just like, look, I'm pretty sure I'm going to win every game. I'm going to snap him on turn 1. That's just how it's going to go. And I kind of feel as though that, like, I've been in that situation before when playing similar formats where you're just like, all right, well, I cannot ever lose. And I kind of wonder if that's how Harry's feeling right now.
Yeah, I think for me as well, like, I've definitely been in what, Nicolena's position must feel like right now, where, when I said right at the start, life comes at you fast in the draft, I meant like when you've done with the draft, you look at your deck, look at your opponent's deck and think, wow, how am I supposed to win? And then each round plays out and you think, yeah, I was right, I'm not really supposed to win. So it can be really difficult, and I've been in this situation multiple times, and you realize how painful or like how rough the draft can be if you are not fully prepared for it.
I don't even know if it's a question of preparation per se. I think it's a question of just like, if you make one mistake, it can snowball very hard.
Here, though, with the Abomination coming down, Nicholena is putting a lot of power onto Olympia. But again, that's why I like Captain Marvel. Now, suddenly, Olympia does not feel safe, because if Harry plays something in Olympia, then the Marvel's got the option to fly across. And because I like the position here as well, because I played Captain Marvel a lot, and I really like putting it in a location you're already super ahead of, because your opponent then can't lock Marvel down as easily. Because a lot of the times you can like pin Marvel by just putting tons of power in the location it's played at, then it can't really fly off without losing that location. So I think this positioning now for Harry is quite strong, because Nicholena would have to like catch up a lot in Lemuria to even think that Marvel won't be able to move.
I mean, it's only a small upgrade, Captain Marvel over Doctor Doom, though, right? And Harry's putting that third unit in Olympia kind of means, oh, never mind. Okay, we are moving our units out of Olympia. Now it's a huge upgrade over Doctor Doom. Now Captain Marvel,
there you go,
really putting in the work.
And that's the difficulty, right? Because Marvel was played in an empty location on Nicolena's side, and there was power mid to back up, you know, the Medusa was there, then it's just like, right, well, Marvel can now just fly off wherever she wants to help out. And these situations are so powerful because if you think about Marvel, Captain Marvel being played against you when your deck is not actually like optimal or built, if that makes sense, because it's been drafted, you think, wow, that card's actually busted right now. It's so flexible.
Yeah, the ability to generally attack multiple locations is you see the shrug from Nicholena, and it's just like, yeah, no, that seems to be how these decks shook out, right? Harry's deck has this immense ability to the snapback coming in. Let's go.
I like
this
it.
Immense ability to target multiple locations in a much freer manner than Nicolena's deck does. Ooh. Hitting that Captain Marvel, that's good. Maybe he won't draw Doctor Doom, and then we're actually really in this.
I mean, that's the position you've got to find yourself in, right? If you're Nicholena right now, you sat there going, I just need things to go right for me, right? That's how I need to start to fight back, because it can be done. Nicolena's in a rough spot, but it can be done. But again, KM, Medusa, Polaris, options of 4-drops, one of which is Crossbones, then into a Spider-Woman, then into whatever the heck Harry wants.
Just good cards. And one thing that does not help is drawing a rock immediately off the Subterranea. Another thing that does not help that Nicholena is not aware of is Harry's got that Super Scroll. Because I'd be really tempted to go in on a Devil Dinosaur game plan right now, and that will be tough to watch if that is what happens.
Yeah, but I think Nicholena probably has to. I'm wondering, I think Nicholena should like just hard power 2 locations, right? And just hope for the best, because if she tries to spread, well, it won't matter because all your power's coming from 2 Devil Dinosaurs, which do not hit 3 locations. The big question now is one has to be an Avengers compound. That just has to happen. Where does the other one go? What's your super knowledge telling us here, KM? Because is it, I know it's tough, but is it the unlikely challenge of Subterranea on turn 6 for Nicholena? Or is it in Pet Mansion where there's just not a Crossbones and a Polaris?
Depends on if it would beat a Doctor Doom or a Captain Marvel. We don't have to worry about Captain Marvel. Yeah, it depends on if it would beat a Doctor Doom in those locations. It also depends on how this one ends up shaking out, right? There's gonna be some scenarios where like, okay, well, this is unwinnable if they have X, Y, or Z. And in this scenario, I don't even know if Harry's gonna need Super Scroll in order to take it, but you know, we do actually have more cards in hand than Harry if we go for the dinosaur stuff. So there is something to that. And I think that might be what the thought process here is we play one dinosaur to dodge Super Scroll a little bit better. But in this sort of spot, like, we are absolutely hosed if there is a Doctor Doom in any way. And we are just dead if there is a Doom. We are dead if we go for one thing. The Super Scroll comes down. Harry's just reading that there's a dino here.
It's actually really interesting because I may have counted this wrong, but I think if there was a dino mid played on like this turn, you know, just as if this turn played out, but dino instead, I think it would have drawn against Doctor Doom next turn. So
with caster vision, we can.
Oh yeah. I'm not saying this choice should have been made.
No. Like what I'm saying is, like, with caster vision, we know that if we played Abomination on the Subterranea and then played Nebula in the middle, would we actually pull this off? With caster
it could have
vision?
worked. Avengers Compound had to be played mid.
No. I mean, right now, if we did that.
Oh, this turn. Sorry, this turn. Yeah.
If we played the Nebula, tied the middle, and then went for a tiebreaker with the Abomination on Subterranea, could we have pulled it off?
Not sure. That was definitely a tricky one there, but what wasn't tricky was... Yeah, what wasn't tricky was that game for Harry, because that was just over. Like, that was just a steamroll. But again, this is, I think, going to be a theme. I think it's going to be a theme of the day. if one player does, because again, I don't know how much the players have had time to practice or anything like that with this draft mode, but if one player is less experienced with it, it's so favored for the player who's put like, you know, maybe more time in, or at least just had more experience with it, because you can mess up your draft so easily. I'm not even saying that's a bad thing for Nicholena, but it's so easy, even for an experienced player, to make a wrong decision or two, and then you're 2 or 3 cards worse off than your opponent, and that is a disaster.
Yeah, there were 2 spots that really stuck out to me. The first is Nicholena picked Nebula over Doctor Doom, and then Harry immediately snagged the Doctor Doom. And the second one is when Nicholena picked the Devil Dinosaur, Harry immediately picked the Super Skrull. And I gotta imagine, given the speed of the format, that Harry saw the dinosaur, saw the Super Skrull, and realized that whichever one got picked, he had to take the other immediately.
I think that's a really big highlight because, you know, we talked about it before the first series. Dr. Doom hits the board, you want to draft Doom. But being able to quickly process the fact that, hey, Dino's on the board, Dino got grabbed, Super Skrull is just the answer, and being able to adapt that quickly was absolutely a huge highlight from me. Not the biggest highlight. The biggest highlight for me actually came when Harry played the first card of the first matchup when he dropped Iceman, and Raven, I believe your call was Iceman splurging the yogurt out or whatever he's made of in that picture. So just absolute highlight for me. Thank you for
Well, he's made of ice. What are you talking about? Raven, what do you mean? He's made of ice. That's clearly ice. That is what ice looks like.
Well, I don't know what it's like over on your end of town, KM, but if I ask for some ice in my drink, I hope I don't get that. Put it that way. So
congratulations to Harry. Moving on to day 2, moving on to the semifinals. We're going to get ready here, getting Freddybabes and Kawa sorted and getting their draft up so we can get into our second quarter finals. There you see Harry moving on. We'll face the winner of Freddybabes versus Kawa. We've got a whole bottom of the bracket still to get you through here today in day 1 of the Snap Arena Draft Invitational 2-day event, $500. Just gotta make it through to day 2 to get your hands on some cold hard cash. Any predictions between Freddy and Kawa as we get the draft up here?
I have a strong belief that Thanos is sort of jank glue. So you just sort of play some other cards with Thanos and he'll make it happen. He'll make it work. One thing Thanos cannot answer, though, weird world without the reality stone in your opening hand. So there goes your glue. Now we are fully in clown mode where both players are playing the other player's drafted deck.
Yeah, this is pretty interesting. This is one of those games where if I am Kawa, because obviously I feel like Kawa loses the most out of this interaction of Weird World, then I would, as soon as this game looks like it's going south, I'd just get out. like for one cube, as quick as possible. Obviously, if there's a snap, you can wait till turn 6. But if things are even remotely looking bad, you just think, yeah, we'll get out of this one. Not worth, because already we can see Freddybabes not only got hold of a few stones, but also has the Captain Marvel as well. And Captain Marvel into Stark Tower turn 5 is very dangerous.
I think, we're going to stay in until we're forced out, basically. Yeah. And I do think we are likely leaving if we are forced out. Our threshold for being forced out is quite low at this point. But I don't think we're going to be just leaving immediately. Oh, my God. Black Widow and then Vormir pops up so they can just get rid of the Widow's Bite and just get free value off the Black Widow. One of the crazy things about Black Widow that I've noticed a lot is, like, there's a non-zero amount of the time. And we're seeing one of those situations here where the Widow's Bite is just actually the best card you can draw. And like, this is one of those situations where it's like, oh, you got Black Widowed, but that Widow's Bite's actually going to be pretty good for you.
Yeah, in terms of just being able to play a thing, it looks like Kawa is going to follow up with, yeah, okay. Going to pop the Vormir and then get Wave, has options of Thanos or Spider-Man for next turn.
I would think we're going Thanos into Spider-Man here with the idea that we're going to try to just steal one lane later if we can. I don't know if that's going to pay out, though.
And am I right in assuming that Kawa just won't try and win Weird World in any way because he knows he doesn't have Giganto, so he knows that Freddybabes could have it. So does he then just completely ignore Weird World? Unless there's like a easy way to maybe, let's say it's just Space Stone and he has 2 power, you can just throw it over there.
You'd Spider-Man it, right? That would be where I would expect the Spider-Man to go.
Yes, but I was meaning more like this turn, right?
Oh yeah, because this turn,
obviously, the Giganto could come down on the left, so you're not dropping Thanos there. But of course, if it's not dropped there this turn, then the Spider-Man's definitely an appealing option.
Yeah, the interesting bit about dropping the Thanos is like you want to put it wherever the Captain Marvel is going to go, so you can pin the Marvel and prevent her from leaving and moving to where you Spider-Man. So it seems as though with this configuration, with our caster vision, we can see that actually did happen. Freddy played the Marvel off the Stark Tower. Kawa played the Thanos in the same lane as the Marvel, and well, that's probably not doing anything. All right, never mind. I got excited for a second. I was hoping I'd be able to see Raven tilt off, but no, we're good.
If it was on the last turn, the wave turn, we could really talk because suddenly Galactus into Weird World with Spider-Man is like, ooh, painful.
Yeah, we would have been able to actually live the dream. Oh my. Okay, so that snap's coming in, and Kawa, you can see him react to it. It is not what he wanted there. He wanted to be able to continue to just play this game for free. And given how unfavored he is, I think he's really, really got to consider that leave. I'm not saying it's 100% the correct decision, but what is correct is how long he's thinking about it here.
I think the Marvel. I said early on I would definitely be a leaver in this situation, but I think the fact Captain Marvel's on the board for Freddybabes, I would have already left if I was Kawa. That's because I'm a worse player probably, and I don't take my time thinking about things. But for me, the Marvel, it's like, right, well, Kawa plays Spider-Man, but then Marvel's going to deal with that. So like, what's the outcome here? And Kawa obviously recognizes this and does get away. And I think, for me, when I play battle mode here, if you have a game go like this, Weird World turn 1, it messes with your Thanos and everything, you're pretty happy to not get baited into anything more than 1 damage.
Yeah. Like I said very early. I think very early this was a game that we identified as like, all right, we're not favored and we're probably leaving when they snap. But even if we identify that, you still need to take your time and think about what that means when they snap. You still need to be like, you don't just have to assume that because you thought you were unfavored early, you are unfavored now, because things have happened between then and now. You need to evaluate the current position.
Kawa does have the option of Black Widow this turn, whereas Freddybabes could go with the Quake. And again, the Quake's an interesting one. Does have Mr. Sinister as well. But the weird thing is Freddy kind of has to make the decision now whether this Quake is going to be played mid this game or not. Because if Sinister's going mid, then Freddy probably doesn't want to Quake the DC away. So there's definitely something to think about there for that extra power.
Yeah, and it looks like Freddy's committing to the Quake is a 2-3 this game.
Yeah, which is fine. Obviously, it's completely fine, but definitely a decision that has to be made there and then. Fist Tower going to round out the battlefield for this round.
These are some. We remember when we first started, and I talked about the power of just having like a reasonable 2-cost card that you can just like play a 2-drop and you're not sad about. That's something that Kawa is genuinely missing, I think, in this list. And Freddy at least has, Quake, Mr. Sinister. These are cards that you do not hate playing. You are fine to play them. And Kawa is looking at like, okay, I've got like Power Stone and Hitmonkey. And it's like, I would have almost played them last turn just to play something.
It's where Kawa, at least this round, is suffering from just not getting the stones, right? Because, yes, I agree. It's why, like, Sentinel would be a very early pick in most drafts for me, because you just fill stuff out and just drop power. But Kawa, obviously, with Thanos straight away, relying on the fact that it's like, and this is fair, I'll have gems. I'll have the stones, right? I'll have something to do in most turns at worst. So, a little bit unfortunate it's not paid off. It's going to drop the... Big Beast, now that it's a 3-4 very recently in the OTA, to bounce some of this and get that ninja off board, which Shadowland is shaping up pretty well here for Kawa.
I mean, Kawa's staying in here, which I think is actually quite interesting, given that Freddy's snapping because he's ahead and he's about to play Gamora into Giganto, right? Like that's what that snap is. And I don't know if we beat that. I mean, a Spider-Man on the left could do a lot. And then we'll have to sort of see where things go from there. So he's Spider-Man on the left to prevent the Giganto coming out. Which
and then there's White Queen, Stone, Hitmonkey, and can also actually drop the Ninja on the location he isn't going to try and win, right? For extra buff on Hitmonkey for turn 6.
But that wave,
too bad.
That wave might mess up that plan.
The wave is often a slap in the face.
Yeah. The interesting thing, though, is given this wave coming down, like with this exact configuration, it's going to be guess where they don't go. We're going to be... Oh, it gets +1.
Yeah, it's going to be 1. It's going to be 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, he's just giving that up? That's very odd. No, it's actually like a plus... And it's a very valuable play. It prevents the nebula from growing. It's very good. And now we have to guess where... Freddy's Gamora is not going.
Okay.
I mean, Doctor Doom, we still beat with Thanos, correct? Goes to 13 to 14 if we play it on the Fisk Tower.
Yes, but that doesn't beat Gamora.
It doesn't beat Gamora,
right?
So like we have to play elsewhere. It's very interesting because there's so many things. This is kind of a pure 50-50, right? We just have to say which one is happening. Freddy making a very heads-up play, saying, the threat of Doctor Doom will make him play Thanos on the Fisk Tower, right? And thus, I am confident. Oh, no, now he's going for the Doctor Doom.
What?
Whoa!
I honestly am shocked. I thought Freddy had a really good grasp on... You play out the turns, right? And then you play them out as if your opponent knows what the turns will be, and then you make if you can find a slight edge in one of the plays. And I thought Gamora was that slight edge. Like I definitely followed your logic there. Looks like Freddy's going for the Doom. Yeah,
Freddy just realized it. Like, because he's smart enough to know exactly what the situation is there, and you could see the moment of realization where he was like, I think that Kawa will go middle. Like, it was a leveled play, right? He was thinking that Kawa would play around the Gamora and go middle, and then he would beat that play by playing the Doctor Doom. That is what that progression meant to me. And Kawa ended up just being like, no, I'm going to that lane. And
big stuff go burr.
Yeah, and that's just like, that's tough when you make like what I saw Freddy do there was like try to make a very hard read very early in the game, and it's really hard to do that at the beginning of a battle mode.
Big round win there for Kawa though, as he's going to deal a good amount of damage to Freddy. Freddy now on the back foot. And this Nebula into Invisible Woman for a setup with maybe the Wong a little bit later on. Not looking too bad. Invisible Woman, I think, is a great neutral card in any sort of battle mode, not even just particularly draft, but just in general.
Oh, yeah.
Because you don't have to do a combo, right? You don't have to combo anything behind Invisible Woman. It's just the fact your opponent doesn't know how much power you're going to have there at the end of the game. So I think that's really, really powerful here. We do have Triskelion. Anything sticking out for you there, Game?
Well, the snap came in from Kawa because Triskelion with his Ronin is a really, really, really big deal. One interesting thing here, though, is I guess we're never going to get to see it out. Freddy got a Shang-Chi off of the Triskelion, and that's a really fun thing to put behind an Invisible Woman. But Freddy already hitting the retreat later, and yeah, I mean that's I have Ronin. It's going to be incredibly large because you're not going to be able to get things out of your hand because you are a deck that only plays like one thing a turn, and you just got like 3 extra cards. So Ronin is going to be infinitely large this game, unapproachably large, and Freddy just doesn't want to deal with that.
Definitely interesting though, because there was also the option of Wave turn 3, Galactus turn 4, and then the Shank in hand for Freddy. So that would have been at least interesting, right? To see what happens. Shank into with the Helicarrier options as well. So that would have been interesting to see if Freddy would have risked it on that. But Freddy's saying, no, not good enough for me. I'll back out. And now dropping down to just that 5 health. So unless something crazy happens, Freddy's got at least one more round in him, I would say. And something crazy may be happening because that is a very early snap.
It's Wong Doom. That's nuts. It's Wong Doom with a location that prevents most of the counterplay. Like that is a lot of power. And I think that is actually like a pretty reasonable move from Freddy here to just force it.
Breaking news.
And what do you make of this as well? So Kawa stays in with that hand, obviously minus the Power Stone, right? Do you think that hand's good enough to stay in here? You see Crimson Cosmos, you have Green Goblin, Beast, Sandman, Time Stone, and your opponent snaps you. Like,
with caster vision, no. But without, like, if I didn't have the caster vision being like, oh, that's Wong Doom, I would think maybe Freddy is just like, you know, I've got a good hand, I'm going to snap it and get back in this game, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think I would have looked at it and just gone, I'm ahead by miles, because at the moment, or before that, Kawa's on 9 health, right? And then you just say, I'm ahead by miles, my hand isn't that good, I'll just retreat.
Oh. My God, that's even worse for Kawa here. I mean, we are looking at Wong Doom supremacy. We are back in early pool 3. We are collection level 1000 right now, where this is just the strongest possible thing you can do. I almost wonder if Freddy didn't want to hide the combo under Invisible Woman. Now he can't do that, but he does get to win the lane for free instead.
Well, that's the thing, actually, right? He won't necessarily win the Crimson Cosmos lane. It would depend, right? But, okay. Kawa going for the Black Widow, sorry, Invisible Woman. I'm just going to sacrifice it to Void.
He's there.
Yeah.
That Spider-Man is... I mean, Spider-Man and Arrow can both mess up the Doom, but I almost am not even sure that it will even, like, how much that will matter. Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If Spider-Man was 4 energy, it would matter a lot. But because it's not, like, turn 4 Spider-Man on Crimson Cosmos, and then Arrow could actually maybe do some work, but not the case anymore.
I mean, as is, it looks like the Dr. Doom Wong thing is not going to happen. One way or another, there is not going to be Wong Doom in this game. The Spider-Man is probably going to have... Oh. See, that's interesting from Freddy. He knows there's a Spider-Man. I'm a little bit surprised he wouldn't... Actually, this does make sense, right? Okay, so if Kawa Spider-Man's the Crimson Cosmos, we can win it with... there it is. It's an answer to the Crimson Cosmos play. So what we're saying is if you Spider-Man the Crimson Cosmos, we are going to win the Crimson Cosmos, and we are going to win the Death's Domain because we can play the Dr. Doom off of the Crimson Cosmos and just win it there.
What's behind Invisible Woman again?
I believe it's Wave.
Okay, interesting. Because there's always still the fear of the Reality Stone, right? Because just because Death's Domain isn't playable for Kawa right now doesn't mean it's always going to be the case. So, yeah, Kawa stuck between Arrow and Spider-Man. It's tricky. It must be super tempting to play the Spider-Man out, but we can see Freddy's definitely prepared.
I mean, I think either of these plays lose at this point, right?
Yeah.
Because Freddy's going to have priority into his Dr. Doom here and it's just not going to matter.
It's the question of what's under Invisible Woman, right? I mean, Kawa's probably got a decent idea, but
Why is that a question?
oh, he can't. Yeah, he can't stop him playing Wong, right? He's just got to think like, how much, like, what if there isn't a Doom there, right? Like, if it's if it's something else, because this could still just, it doesn't mean you always have Doom, right? Obviously, it's likely,
but like,
the snap's likely, but
yes.
if Kawa's going to stay in it, he needs to work out how does he win if Doom doesn't exist, right?
Yes, and I think this is sort of an example of what makes draft really hard to play, not just to draft. Is it's hard to get a read on why your opponent is snapping you. And I think with caster vision, we can be like, oh, wow, that's a snap because of the long Doom. But if you're actually in it, you don't know that. And like, we look at this and we're like, this is like, oh my God, this is the scariest thing in the world. But for Kawa, I mean, I think you can reasonably look at this and say, oh, I get it. He was trying to like Wong Gamora. That's what was going on here. I get it. I can win this game. I don't think that's true, but you at least explore the possibilities before you retreat.
It's definitely the fear, because like your opponent might snap you because they just have like a 2 and a 3 drop. You know, a 3 drop and then maybe a 6 drop, right? And it's like, this hand's good enough for draft. I'm snapping. So Kawa did escape there. I think that was a very good escape, good retreat going on there, because still not the end of the world. Obviously, Freddy is clawing his way back into this game quite happily right now, as we do up the stakes to 2 now, going into round 5. But I do think situations like that, when you almost convince yourself like, oh, but if they don't have it, I can win, you know, and then you end up just losing 4 health for no good reason. You can find yourself slipping into those terrible habits playing this.
The Wong, I mean, like, this hand from Freddy is basically the best possible, right? Like, this is Nebula, Invisible Woman, Wong, Gamora. We get to draw 2 cards. Oh, we can wave Galactus on the mirror dimension now. We have so many options here, because if we wave Galactus on the mirror dimension, we're running the risk of Spider-Man, so we probably never do that, right? But now we're so much closer to drawing Doctor Doom. And Wong Doom is still horrifying and still loses to Spider-Man, but we have the Gamora for the same counterplay line that we can take that we took last time.
Let me ask you this. If you wave Galactus, does the fact that Freddy has Gamora means he doesn't have to worry about Spider-Man? Because I feel like the power output could be really high there. Obviously, it depends what those turns lead up to, right? If we play Galactus and Kawa's already played power on that location, then that's a big difference. But because Spider-Man's pretty low power compared to like a procced Gamora, there's maybe a reason to try for that. But it looks like already Freddy saying, nope, Galactus is not happening.
We are not trying for the dream.
I think it'll be worthwhile to keep that option open, at least. But it's interesting to me that Freddy's going to play Wave on turn 3 with Galactus in hand and isn't even entertaining the idea of giving Galactus, like, having an option for that card.
I think Kawa's Spider-Man makes that Galactus just very, very, very difficult to play. Like, we are just not happy if that ever happens. The turn 4 Galactus is just not a thing we can ever do.
Goblin going to come down, stop that Nebula growing, and also start to really fill up X Mansion, which is going to prove...
Tanya!
And Sarah. Spider-Man's buffed! Yeah, that's kind of interesting, actually. X Mansion not going to do anything on the left side, of course, now. But that is a very clogged location on the right there, KM, and suddenly Doom doesn't feel as scary for Kawa, I imagine, at least on X Mansion.
Are we sure? Because it's just really hard. Like, Kawa is going to have not a lot of ability to play into that Nebula here. And what we're looking at from Freddy is we could do Doom now or Giganto now and then Gamora Doom elsewhere. And that is just a really, like, that Titania is just really scary. And that Sarah is just not as good as you would think it would be. This could be it.
Ooh.
If Freddy chooses to stay in here. I mean, it's already 4. I almost think he's priced into staying in here because we're only going to 5. And going down like 7-1 is pretty much the same as losing anyway.
Yeah. sometimes
interested in this.
sometimes you have to just believe and say, I need to win this round. And if I don't win this round, I lose anyway. So let's go. We're going to see the Giganto on the far left. Ronan going to start battling on the right. But this is what's weird, right? Like
Yellow Jacket to get the Ronin out of your hand. Oh my god, that's actually like get Ronin lower, so we could do like Yellow Jacket, Gamora, Doctor Doom here. Like Yellow Jacket goes in the middle almost certainly. Gamora probably also goes in the middle, and then we play Doctor Doom final turn.
the Doom's going to be scary though, right? Where do you play the Doom?
I mean, ideally, we would probably play it in the X Mansion, but we'll have to find out. I think Kawa right now is doing the math on if I Spider-Man here.
Oh, there's no way unless they play something exactly this turn. Yeah,
yes.
I like this a lot. And then there's what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 card Hitmonkey for now.
Another
turn?
thing that's really awkward here, though, is putting 2 cards under Invisible Woman gives the impression that it's not Gamora in there. And that is very interesting.
Well, I'm just thinking now, Kawa's got to be quite confident that X-Mansion on the right is locked up, right? There's not really any way that's going to change. And now Kawa played the Space Stone for the Ronin, so can pull that across, and now has what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Work out how big this Hitmonkey can get. 3, 4, 5, 6. So it can actually be a 4-card Hitmonkey if Kawa wants it. So can White Queen Hitmonkey and 2 stones mid? That's a lot of power.
What is it? That's 12, 13, 14. I think that still loses to Gamora ends up being 12. Yellow Jacket takes us to a total of 4 there.
I'm about play the White Queen and the Hitmonkey on the left and move the Ronin. Because like that could work. That's a solid amount. And I don't think Freddy knows about the Space Stone, so knows about the Fear of Ronin, but I didn't count it actually, but Freddy can only add, I think at most now, that we can see 5, right, on the left. So I think I like this White Queen, Hitmonkey, drop the stone, the Psylocke, and the other stone mid, and just say, that's enough. Maybe the Reality Stone cheeses mid as well, right? And just like turns it into, I don't know, bar.
I was just going for a big brain juke here with just Ronin, White Queen, all this stuff going all left. Yeah. And I think it'll get there. Would it have gotten there against the Doctor Doom? I'm interested to find out.
Seeing the Galactus. That's going to be a lot mid, and I don't think.
I think Doctor Doom would have won this game.
Yeah, but you never making that play, right?
No, if you're Freddy, I kind of thought that we were just supposed to play Doctor Doom, but like you're never playing around this. Would Doctor Doom have won this game? Yeah, we would have won the tiebreaker if that had been a Doctor Doom.
It would, but the problem there is like, would it have won if this shifted the other way, right?
That's fascinating.
Because like, if Kawa just baited in the other way and just didn't move,
just didn't move,
and played it mid, then he wins played it right anyway, right? So I think Doom was a little bit dicey, but that was a really good game. I enjoyed that.
That was phenomenal. That was really well played from both players in that scenario. That was just there's so much going on. And one of the things I've always been impressed with Freddy when he plays is just how willing he is to just make reads and be like, I got you. And sometimes when you make reads, you don't got them. But like that, like I'm really impressed. Like that's what good play looks like. And you saw Kawa doing the same thing at the end, just being like, look, you are not going to play around me moving all my stuff to the left. And that was correct.
So huge congratulations to Kawa for going ahead and making it into the semifinals. Let's take a look at the bracket here. So we're going to see Kawa against Ordinary Harry tomorrow in our first semi. In our second semi, in our first next quarterfinal matchup, we're going to see Speci versus Ninaisnoob. Now, Speci, when he first saw the bracket, went ahead and basically asked, why do I get a bye in the first round? So the smack talk started early. KM, any thoughts on this next matchup as we get the draft all sorted and up here on the screen?
I believe that Specimen has been practicing this format a fair bit. And so, like Raven said earlier, experience with the format goes a long way. As we see a Thanos coming out for Speci, no Doctor Doom in the pool this time. She-Hulk Devil Dinosaur, Kitty Pride for Nina. All right, I support this entirely. Specimen looks like he's building towards a zoo-style Thanos deck with what he's got so far. And Nina looks like she's building towards a good cards style Devil Dino deck.
Yeah, this is really tricky here, though, because I think, at least from my experience, She-Hulk always feels like bait, especially if you're not going to pick up a Sunspot alongside. So I'm a little bit worried about the Shield pick. Oh, Spec picked Kang. Ugh. I guess we have to deal with it.
Into Devil Dino. That's horrifying.
Yeah, kind of interesting here, though. Hobgoblin, Hulkbuster, Goose. Wait, is there a... Oh, there actually isn't Silver Surfer. I half expected Spec to just go Silver Surfer there. Picking up Heimdall as well. And
the
Sentry.
Sentry?
Wow.
The coolest thing about this format is the last 4 picks are always just like the worst cards you've ever heard of. Because it's like how people are trying to fit things in here. And so like it makes perfect sense. Especially just like, yeah, I got a Sentry. We got this. It's fine. We're going to pull it off.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one here. So we get into round 1. We've got Nina on
early
the top and Spec on the bottom.
That's the dream. We are living the dream. Kitty turn 1 with a bunch of good 5s that we can play. The dream here is like Kitty, and then we have like a turn 5 Dino. We go Kitty Taskmaster, or Taskmaster Kitty on the final turn. Oof, that we are live for the dream if that happens. Well, it looks like we're just gonna be playing the Sentinel instead.
What's going to be very interesting about this matchup is just the sheer mind games that picking Heimdall has created, right? Because Nina now has to sit there every single time if it gets to turn 6 and say, is my opponent going to Heimdall? Because if they do, I need to play like this. If they don't, I play like that. And normally it's easy against a move deck because move players can't do anything but play Heimdall on turn 6. So that's pretty easy to guess most of the time. But this one is going to be a little bit tougher.
I mean, there are some cards that make it a little bit easier. Like, for example, if you play Sentry, I think it makes it pretty easy to figure out, okay, if they Heimdall, that void goes into the middle. I'm actually pretty happy with that, so they're probably not going to Heimdall.
You never know. That might be what you want them to think.
From Nina. We played a Sentinel last turn. We're not playing a Sentinel this turn, and I'm not 100% clear on why. Is there a specific card in Specimen's deck that I'm missing?
The Luke Cage?
Yeah, why are we Luke Caging?
There's the Crusher on the board.
Oh, that is what I'm missing. Good call.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a very... The Crusher with Luke Cage, extremely good way to swing that lane. And with Nina's deck having like a fair few small units in it, that Luke Cage is going to make sure that Necrosha is a very, very, very one location.
Yeah, and this is what we talked about earlier, right? With just Sentinel being one of the best cards. It doesn't look flashy, Sentinel. It's not a Doctor Doom. It's not anything like that, a Thanos, but it gets the job done. We see Spec. I feel like from the way Spec just drank out of that mug, he's not actually drinking a drink. It feels like he's, drinking like a soup or a noodle thing or something like that. I don't know what he's trying to.
He's trying to snap.
He's trying to snap.
He's trying to snap. He's Thanos without the stones in the gauntlet. He's trying to figure it out.
He's definitely doing his best. This is some. I mean, do we have an award for best actor?
He figured it out.
There we go.
He figured it out. It took Specimen a lot of tries, but he figured out how to snap. I'm very proud of him.
And the best actor goes to Storm. Going to come down on Xander.
The Storm here is real slick, right? Because we have the Storm and the stone that lets us move something off. So if we really want to, we get to play ye old Sentry over there.
And also as well, there's just Blue Marvel, right? So even though the location looks full, there's still added power available if Spec wants it. And Nina on the top, though, is going to have to start playing out for these turns. Is this a turn where Kitty gets floated here? Because suddenly there's Gamora, Taskmaster, Kitty. And I think... Am I being a bit overzealous here when I think this play from Nina feels just a little bit light. It is going to hit Wolverine, but I just feel like the Gamora, if that hit, well, it will hit because it's Avengers compound, and then you have Taskmaster Kitty turn 6, feels very strong.
And we are going to lose the, like, what's so clever about what Specimen did is not, oh, we can play Sentry over there, because we can't play Sentry over there because Avengers compound exists. But we always win it off the blue Marvel. That's always happening, and Nina can't add any power to that location. So what we're now trying to do is win Avengers compound, and that's sort of why I liked his original Hobgoblin play. If we really just wanted to lock down Avengers compound and make sure that we won it, we could really, really get things going here, because I think we're most likely going to lose Necrosha.
It would have massively failed this turn though with the Deathlock, and maybe that's what why
it
Nina
would have massively failed.
And
but
maybe that's why Nina went with
very
Deathlock, right?
Interesting.
Maybe she went with it and say, well, I know Spec has Hobgoblin. I'll just kill him.
Everyone's favorite card.
Oh no. I don't often get truly disappointed in people, but I think today is one of those times, because Spec's having the time of his life, whereas he's just hurting my soul.
Well, I mean, it's top deck Kang though, which is like the best possible version of Kang because it draws you a card. You're effectively playing an 11 card deck when you get to play top deck Kang.
Yeah, don't get me wrong.
In that scenario,
Spec's not wrong. It's just it's the fact that being right feels bad right now. Only because the animation lasts so long.
It just gives us more time to fill the air with our beautiful voices that everyone surely tuned in to hear.
Nina rethinking the Gamora Kitty. It's tough now because, like you said, she just knows she's lost Flooded. There's nothing to talk about on the left side there.
It's why I wouldn't have felt comfortable. It's kind of why I didn't want to play the Blue Marvel early, because like you don't know that you've lost the Flooded location until you know, basically. But it leaves Specimen the option to play like a bigger card on the final turn of the game.
And you know only one of those players, even though they're mimicking each other in action,
in the same
they
pose.
are not mimicking each other in attitude towards this play, I think, as Kang's going to reset the timeline and work out what's going on here. Spec now knows that the original plan was Gamora and Kitty Pryde, but now here's the question. Is Nina going to change it up?
I think a better question is, can Specimen ever beat that? Like, that specific play, is there a single thing we can do that actually beats it?
Yes.
What?
Sentry.
Yeah. That specific play.
You asked and I answered, my
Sentry will
friend.
beat it by 1. Sentry and Thanos beat it by 1.
Yep. Yeah, the Blue Marvel doing the extra work required. And if that's the case, like,
whoa. Okay. I was like, that loses to it. So I think what he's thinking is wherever that Kitty Pryde goes is sort of what this game is, right?
Yeah. Oh, I cannot believe Nina's getting away with this. If I was Spec, I would 100% say there is no way Nina is leaving 4 power on Necrosha when Thanos is in the deck, when there's enough stuff in the deck for Spec to win Necrosha with 1 card. There is no way. And look, Nina locked in Gamora mid, Kitty right.
Are you saying that you should always play Thanos mid there? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, or Sentry for style points if you really want to show off. But yes.
I think the Kang actually makes it more likely that we lose because the Kang makes her rethink the split of power. You saw her rethinking that, being like, okay, so it's Gamora mid, and if we had just played Thanos in the mid lane there, we would have won. If we had just done that at the beginning, we would have won there. But instead, the Kang gave her a chance to rethink where the Kitty Pryde was going to go, and B, let us know that if she made the correct decision, we were dead, so we left. And that we could have. That's a really interesting discussion of Kang, I think.
And also the reason he's not really played, isn't it? Because a lot of the time it does feel like you give your opponent more outs than you need to.
It's not even necessarily giving your opponent more outs. It's giving you more ability to see the stuff that you're going to lose to. And that can lead to you making retreats like that, where if we had done anything other than that, if we had just made the play we were already going to make, probably, it's fairly likely we would have won the 4 cubes there.
Yeah, well, with Lemuria kicking out on the mid and Kiln finishing up on the right, Specs actually managed to just land a couple of cards nice and early in the Kiln. So we could have a similar situation here where Specs going to be able to lock up a location nice and early, and it's going to be both players vying for the other two. And I genuinely do think that a wave is scary. Okay.
The wave is a big deal in that location. I do think Specimen is far enough ahead that Gamora is not going to win it.
Yeah, he skips playing on right. Surely this is like a Storm turn, I feel like.
He either skips it or he plays the Hobgoblin there, but either way.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Here we go again.
The value coming in here.
I do think if Hobgoblin was going to be played, I actually really like playing it anywhere but the Kiln. Because... Again, if Gamora's played, well, Spec wins there anyway because he's not playing a card there to proc.
Yes.
So then just get -8 somewhere else and be like, yeah, perfect. I'm even more ahead right now. But Nina did decide to back out and hand Spec his first little win there.
Early Iceman, and we're seeing the issues of Kitty Pryde decks when they are not dedicated Kitty Pryde decks. Like, she's a card that scales the more you build around her, and so sometimes she's going to be like pretty good when you don't build around her, and sometimes she's going to be not very good at all. Now, the Kitty Pryde She-Hulk thing here is actually genuinely pretty interesting, depending on how this goes over the next few turns. So if we go Kitty Pryde now, Sentinel, then we go Kitty Pryde, and that's the only thing we play, we end up with a She-Hulk on a very, very, very cheap She-Hulk on turn 5.
We'll need some heads-up play. There is the Taskmaster as well there. And I think this is the problem with playing She-Hulk in like a draft deck, that you can't build around She-Hulk, because making the plans for She-Hulk is about 20 times harder than it is normally, because your deck isn't naturally built to do the thing, right? So it does require a lot of foresight here.
So like right here, we can just play Kitty Pryde. We'll have a 3-cost She-Hulk next turn, and then we can go Kitty, She-Hulk, Yondu as our turn 5. And that seems like pretty compelling to me, because what it means is our turn 6 is Taskmaster as a She-Hulk imitator, and then the like 8 power Kitty Pryde or whatever. That seems like the direction I would go, and that seems like the direction Nina has gone here. And it does make this storm very awkward for Specimen, because now with the She-Hulk, Nina can absolutely put power into that lane. We're looking at...
Not really, though, right? Yeah, not really.
So it's the 8 would take us, it would be 8 here, we'd go to 9, we could play Yondu in there, and we wouldn't get there.
Ooh, Cage.
Yeah,
Cage helps.
We don't need to play that now, though. We do need to play that now.
Yes.
We do need to do it in the other order, though.
Yeah.
We need to do it in the other order if we want to do the Taskmaster, right?
Yes. Oh. No.
We're not. I guess we're just not doing the Taskmaster. We're just playing a bunch of small stuff on the final turn of the game. I think that makes sense too. We put this in here and then hit the surprise Cage.
Yeah, it's a little.
Especially
what is
with
going
the
on?
Heimdall.
What is going on? It's super interesting, though, right? Because if this She-Hulk.
Oh, so just giving up on the mid. We still should probably play She-Hulk last.
Yeah, I think that's what Nina's just realized. Yeah, there you
go. Okay.
Yeah, okay. So the She-Hulk Cage play lost 2 power on Kitty, but in a roundabout way, you gain that power back through the Soul Stone, right? So I still personally like the Luke Cage She-Hulk to give as much flex as possible.
Oh, Dino Kitty. Wait, isn't that just less?
Wait,
it's not less, right?
What was
it? Is less.
9.
Yeah.
It's the same.
No, because we'd have a Taskmaster in hand instead of the Dino. Dino's 11.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was counting as if Dino out of hand now. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Is there any big reason to? There's no ongoing hate, is there? I don't think so. Not that I can recall. No. Huh.
I'm interested in where, like, undoing it just to put the kitty pride in the same spot. I wonder how much she's thinking about the Heimdall right now.
Well, that's the question, isn't it? That is the question. Because
Specimen is clearly thinking about it a lot.
one thing that I haven't mentioned yet, but it's something I thought about very quickly when I was playing in the draft tournament a while ago in the Korean one, was with the deck trackers, they only track the cards that have been played, right? And Spec hasn't played Heimdall. And if Nina didn't screenshot the draft mode or have it somewhere that she can look at, there's a chance you can forget about cards, because that's something I did. I actually forgot about one of the cards my opponent picked because they hadn't played it for like 3 rounds. They didn't play it all game. And it was like round 4 or 5. I was like, oh, they do run it. I was like, right, I need to screenshot these going forward to make sure they're in my vision at all times. But yeah, Spec slowly fighting back. Both players on 8. I think this is one of the more timid matchups we've seen so far today. Okay.
Well, the Specimen's been snapping a lot and
Kangin a lot.
Mostly, I would suggest unfruitfully, which is such an odd thing to see. When you think about his snaps, the snap he made in the first game ended up costing him cubes. The snap he made just then, Nina was gonna stay in if he didn't snap. He ended up losing a cube off that snap. So it's not like the aggression hasn't been there. It's just that Nina has correctly left and stayed in order to punish Specimen for the aggression. It's there.
Can't work out whether this is too fancy from Nina.
What, the buff the Wolverine for the Deathlock thing?
Yeah, just because like, what about this floated an energy? It could have just Wolverine Deathlocked, right? And just had the Deathlock on board.
Oh, now it feels so smart.
Yeah, wow.
Oh, okay. Now Nina is a genius. That is just phenomenal. Specimen about to lose so many cards out of his hand. About to go from 5 cards in hand to 3.
Yeah, the bad draw for Nina being the Gamora was actually good now with Attilan being shown for the 3rd location. So it's like, yeah, get rid of those cards. They're unplayable right now. So yeah, you are right. It did completely pay off. Asteroid M going to be dragging the Deathlock across to the left, of course. But at least Spec gets out, has gotten a lot of the stones out by now, right? Because now you want to start dropping the bombs. So there's at least something going on there. Extra energy as well, so can get that blue Marvel down nice and early. I love it.
And Nina's hand is very nothing-y. For her deck, this is not a great hand to see.
This feels like, is this the first round where Nina hasn't been bouncing Kitty?
Yeah.
Feels like it. I don't know if that's strictly true, but it feels like it. Yeah, so you notice that how much of Nina's game plan or power so far in this matchup has been from just having Kitty early, because suddenly it's like Taskmaster Wave. Okay.
Yeah,
not the best.
Even when she's not optimized, Kitty is still very big.
It's just good. Yeah, it's just a good card. But there's something so great about playing Blue Marvel and knowing there's nothing your opponent can do about it. You know, it's like, oh, you just drop it down. You're like, I've just got more power now. Let's go.
This Sunspot is Specimen's saving grace here, I think. And the wave, I think, is actually going to be more helpful for Speci than it will be for Nina.
Yeah, this is looking really good. Project Pegasus with the Sunspot and then all the energy that's floated from this turn is starting to really stack up. And again, it's the power of not only draft, but battle mode in general. And we'll see this, you know, obviously when we hit Conquest very, very soon, I hope, as long as the launch goes smoothly, because Spec just knows the Sunspot cannot be killed. So
yep,
it's great. You can commit to the power. Yeah, you can just commit and say, yeah, this is great. It's just going to be 9 power. It's going to be 10 power, whatever. And that number is not going to go down.
Specimen making that face, very confused as to what that wave means, but I am gonna be favoring Specimen on this one, I think.
Yeah, there doesn't feel like there's a lot that can go wrong here, because Nina doesn't actually have... What was the top end of Nina? It's Devil Dinosaur and I guess Gamora, right? Because, yeah. Because the Taskmaster, it's hard to lose to a Taskmaster on turn 6 with this deck, right, from Spec, because he will know what's Taskmasterable, if that makes sense, right? There's been no kitty, so there's no surprise number coming out. So the Taskmaster thing will be the turn 5 play. So again, not a card that can really grab wins. Nina's already locked in the retreat later spec. I would be shocked if spec retreated from this.
I would be shocked as well. I think this is going to be a 2 cube for Speci as soon as he clicks that button.
Yeah, and there we go. Spec now taking good strides in the matchup. I think the cubes he's lost definitely feel more acceptable than the ones Nina. Like Nina just lost the 2 cubes there, which definitely hurt a lot. But there's Kitty at the beginning again, KM. Order has been restored.
I mean, the thing I think that has really hurt Nina is she's just not drawing Devil Dinosaur, and that is the biggest, beefiest, meanest card in her deck. That is the kind of thing she wants to be playing, and without it, Specimen just gets to style on her a little bit.
I think the problem as well is there's not a lot of Devil Dinosaur support outside of, let's say, She-Hulk, right? Because
Sentinel.
Yes, Sentinel too, but is that enough? Because other than like She-Hulk's kind of, I suppose, if you want to float the whole turn or something, but I feel like the problem is Devil Dinosaur isn't going to be like, 15 or whatever power regularly. So it's going to be hard to rely on. But Sinister London, though.
I mean, Sinister London might actually just be a snap if you have Devil Dinosaur in this scenario. Like,
and
we can
Kitty.
fill up our hand with Kitty Pride.
Yeah.
We can do whatever we want here. After this Maximus, I would be a little surprised if Nina does not snap after this turn, because we are looking at some extremely large numbers here.
I'm surprised it's not a snap this turn. You've got Kitty.
I wouldn't have played the Kitty in here right now, just because I tend to go for like the later kitties with Sinister London here. But I mean, we have a Devil Dinosaur. We're really only afraid of Speci's Storm here, so I think that would be one reason not to snap. Is just we're afraid of the Storm. We want to be able to make sure we play Devil Dinosaur. So for that reason, we're not going to snap right now. I wouldn't hate if she just didn't play a card here, because I mean, as is, what we're looking at is just Devil Dino Gamora, and if they have the Storm, we die, and if they don't have the Storm, they are so dead.
Tricky, yeah, okay. Just because there's going to be no bounce power now on the Kitty, which is a bit of a shame.
It's already happened though. Like we're good. And we just dump a Dino in here, and the Reality Stone is not being played. Speci can't decide whether he wants to go for the power here. The Hulkbuster is really good. It'll get you a copy of something, but that's what it has to be here. I don't know. Oh.
Yeah, so think about this. The Devil Dinosaur's big, right? And there's 2 of them. But there's Sunspot.
Well, there won't be 2 of them.
No, but this is before the Reality Stone, right? So if the Reality Stone wasn't played, there's still that Sunspot that was like gaining a lot of power that turn, and then there's Thanos dropping down. Like, would that have actually been enough? I didn't sit and do the numbers, but either way.
With Gamora, I would expect that Dino Gamora would have been enough.
Sure. Here though now, Nina massively behind. I mean, maybe massively is an exaggeration, but it feels like it. Was that a snap from Spec? I think it was, yeah.
I
think he's trying to push Nina out, right?
Well, he has the Angela on Quantum Realm, which is very good. It does end up falling a bit short to Devil Dinosaur on Quantum Realm, but yeah, I do think he's sensing blood in the water here. He's just snapping whenever he has an advantage, because Nina has been retreating whenever he snaps.
Because that's the thing, like, I think that last round has probably given Spec a lot of confidence, because it's not often your opponent that plays Devil Dinosaur, Gamora, and has Kitty on board that's duplicated. It's not often that you win those games due to a retreat, right? Normally, the player that has the Kitty and the doubles bounce and just play it no matter what. So definitely a confidence booster there for Spec. Looks like he is gonna, or not? Yeah, okay, he is gonna lock in the Reality Stone on the Quantum Realm. Do you like this?
I can't tell, honestly. Like, it's sort of, I think it's just you play it because it's a stone and you like drawing cards and you're fine with whatever there.
But it could have been played on Asteroid M.
It could have been played on Asteroid M. I don't really think it makes much of a difference in terms of Quantum Realm. Like, we're going to be doing what we do anyway here. It doesn't change the dynamics of the lane very much. Nina will still like play a Dino if she wants to beat our Angela lane, basically.
There's going to be that blue Marvel as well available.
Do we ever Storm Sunspot the Superflow right now? Okay, Hobgoblin's better. That's fine. Yeah.
Hobgoblin has to be scary though, because Spec cannot just portion that away and be like, okay, Superflow's won, because there's Deathlock. So if Deathlock gets played turn 6 and Nina has a strong turn 5, that's definitely scary.
Yeah, but Hobgoblin is really just, you don't get the extra energy here.
She-Hulk dropping down, and then Iceman. It's gonna hit Blue Marvel. It's not really gonna change anything. Blue Marvel Thanos.
I know the middle. Is Speci going to play the Kang? Is kind of my overarching question is he going to do a turn 6 Kang? Because I feel like if you're not playing a turn 6 Kang in this situation, it shouldn't be in your deck. Spoiler alert, it probably shouldn't be in your deck. But I do feel like I'm kind of interested because last time I feel like he played the Kang and it actually made him retreat a winnable. This time we'll see what happens.
Also, just a reminder, this is turn 5, right? Spec has 6 energy because of the
it was either
flow.
this, it was either this turn or next turn.
So he locks it in now. Sees the Devil Dinosaur, so he knows the Devil Dinosaur's there. And I think a lot of the time, I feel like a turn 5 Kang feels a lot more... you get a lot more out of a turn 5 Kang than a turn 6 because the game doesn't revolve around turn 5 as much, or is not as easily anyway. And now Spec knows, okay, I know there's a Devil Dinosaur in hand. It might not be played this turn, but I know it's there.
With the Blue Marvel over onto the Superflow, Nina just not going to change her play. Oh, could you imagine if
the big brain
actually paid off? Kang just perma 0 value. That would be incredible.
This is huge now though because Spec's just done. It's like the very very awkward setup of what's the best thing Nina could play, right? So Gamora doesn't do anything on the right. So does Spec just slam Thanos mid and just say there's no way Nina's gonna play mid, but there's that Deathlock. It's there and it's scary.
Oh my god, this is actually gonna work.
Oh wait,
no, that won't work.
It's gonna win.
That won't work. If the kitty went middle, I think this play works, right? Oh, I don't think this does it.
There's also going to be, I didn't, obviously, Spec sort of rewound the turn here, but there would have been +1 from Sunspot, +2 on the Angela as well. So that's 3 extra power that isn't immediately visible mid.
Oh, if he's it's where's this play?
I think Spec wins.
I think he does, yes. If that kitty went mid is really the question I want answered. Oh my god, it's going over to the Asteroid M.
It's by 1, right? Win by 1?
Wait, what happens on the Asteroid M though?
Yeah, there's win by 1, right?
Won?
Yeah, because the Blue Marvel again, like I said, Sentry's 11. Yeah, there you go. I thought so, yeah.
Oh my god.
And
so there was no out there. There was no out there. I was coping. on the kitty mid. None of this worked. None of this worked.
Yeah.
Okay. There was not an out. That was so tough because I was trying to figure out, like, it feels like there has to be an out with this Deathlock, and there just wasn't.
That, I think, is a great example of just being able to bully with snaps in battle mode, let alone the draft aspect of it. But, you know, Speci did it in game 1, kind of bit him in the ass. And then from there, it was like, oh, Sinister London. I should probably lose this. I'll snap. and then pulling it off in the last game as well. Is that just a big component of, you know, this type of format where I have a pretty good read on what my opponent has in their deck because I've seen it even before they've played it, and now I'm going to jump in and say, yeah, I'm going to gamble here, and being a bit more aggressive typically works out?
I think for me, I've mentioned it a few times, but I think it's very difficult to, and I think this is true of all, you know, any competitive game at all, but it's difficult to remove the emotional response to certain things, right? Even though you should, and the best players will be like, no, of course you don't do this. It's the correct play to do this and that. It's difficult. If your opponent just snaps you turn 1, then you lose, and then snaps you turn 2 and you retreat. And then snap you round 2, turn 1 and you retreat, and then 2 turns in, they snap you into round 3, and you're like, oh my god, you know, and nothing's quite add on top of that. It's not quite going that well for you. You can easily slip into, oh, okay, I'm just getting bullied out of this game right now. Obviously, that's wrong, so to speak, because you aren't. You just need to play the game as you would. But I do think there is an aspect of like the mental game that's difficult to manage when you feel like you're being pressured out.
Playing good players can be stifling because you feel like they're snapping at every little advantage. And then you're like, well, I'm not doing that. What do they know that I don't? And that's what's so, like, when you're someone who's like a conservative snapper and you run into one of these players who is snapping every little advantage, you're just like, you're at such a disadvantage because they are correct to be snapping there a lot of the time. If they are advantaged, if they're correctly identifying the situation, you know, I feel like I'm 60%, I'm going to snap here. And you're like, oh, you're never snap. And when you feel like you're 60%, you're not snapping it. All it means is they get more cubes out of their wins than you do. And that can feel incredibly frustrating to deal with. It's why correctly understanding situations, and I think correctly retreating, is another important aspect of this.
I think as well, it's really difficult, and this happens to me as well. I am not saying I'm above this in any way, shape, or form, but if your opponent's signaling that like very early, like, oh, turn 1 snap or turn 2 snap, and you haven't snapped yet, it becomes even more difficult to convince yourself I am favored here, because then suddenly you think, well, if we both snap, it's round 1, we could be playing for 8 cubes and I could just be out. You know, that's what and again, that's statistically incorrect of the way to play the game, but that's beside the point, right? The game isn't played by robots, unless you're on ladder to a certain extent. But in battle mode, you know, that's the thing, right? It's difficult to like really push yourself to make correct decisions when there's a lot more factors coming into it.
Let's bring up the bracket and take a look at that next matchup as we get into it. And I think you both highlighted a lot of the pieces of battle mode, but also the fact that, you know, within draft, battle mode, snapping, okay, I understand the meta. I have a good read on what my opponent might be playing, but kind of draft mode throws a wrench in that because you don't have these perfectly constructed lists. Now you've got a pile of cards you went and picked up. So we are going to see Lamby take on Bynx here in the final quarterfinal of the day. Winner's going to go on and take on Speci tomorrow and be in the money. So let's get the draft up here so we can see what these two players are arming themselves with for our last match of the day.
One thing I wanted to note is that I think I talked to Lamby before the tournament. He said he thought Bynx might be the most worrying opponent that he had. So let's see how this plays out, because he's got a lot of respect for Bynx. And this is just my note, not his. Bynx has more experience playing piles of cards than basically anyone on the planet.
I was going to say, if you ask me who is the better player, I would say Lamby, and I would take about 0.01 seconds to think about that. If you ask me who's a scarier opponent in draft, I would probably agree, because Bynx just plays loads of rubbish, but he wins.
Look
so
at
we'll see how that
Bynx
plans
has
out.
pulled off so far. I mean, Bynx going all in on the ongoing stuff. Lamby has Enchantress, but Bynx took the Rogue, so Lamby couldn't take that as well. He's taking away these 4-cost cards. Drax synergy with his own Storm, and also has synergy with Lamby's Zabu, so he's taking that away. Lamby's gone for Leader and Spider-Woman, and this is high level. Honestly, this is really high level.
Lamby's actually taken the scariest card in battle mode. What card is that, KM?
Are you about to say it's Wasp?
Nope.
Okay, good. I'm glad you're not going to say it's Wasp. Is it Agent Coulson because of the variance that it creates?
My lord. Like, that card is terrifying because stat-wise, it's solid. It's a 3/4. That's absolutely fantastic. That's fine. But then you just think, oh, what am I against? Because I know specifically because when I played in a tournament that was also hosted on this channel, the Infinity Gauntlet, I lost to Cozy, and half of it felt like it was just to Coulson because it was just, oh, I got Spider-Man. He doesn't run Spider-Man, but he got it from Coulson. It's game. You know, and it's so terrifying, especially when these players are playing like they are, and it's just like every single cube counts. So let's get into it. We've got Bynx on the top, Lamby on the bottom, and it's already kicking off with both players getting hold of 1-drops nice and early.
Quinjet living in the danger room. That is a big deal. We have an early Zabu into Iron Lad, but who knows what that Iron Lad's even going to do. Do we ever go off curve to play the Coulson here instead of just playing Zabu into Iron Lad?
The payoff for the Zabu is probably worth it. I think Zabu is incredibly powerful. A little bit unfortunate timing, of course, from Lamby, but I think there's still plenty of time for Coulson shenanigans. It's just that Lamby will want to see what's in the box of Iron Lad as opposed to Coulson.
He's snapping on having Zabu Iron Lad. That's like, we're in it. So Bynx snapping on just like, you're not going to bully me out of this game. I have Dino Mystique.
Here's my question, though. How big is the Dino Mystique going to be? Because there's Cloak, there's a Koye, there's nothing that's generating cards right now. And there's Dark Hawk as well.
Oh, man. This is just like, is Lamby, because like this Iron Lad not hitting Enchantress, like this whole game could come down to, does Lamby draw Enchantress?
Well, at this point, is there any argument to actually Coulson?
Yeah. With Quinjet on the board, absolutely.
Yeah.
With Spider-Man in the pool, absolutely there is an argument to Coulson here.
White Tiger and Sentry, not bad. I just realized, I was like, hang on a minute, why Sentry 2? Did they buff Zabu again? It's like, nope, never mind, I forgot about the Quinjet coming in.
That 2-cost Sentry is interesting.
But also,
are we just going for
because
a
of
lockjaw
Avengers
here?
Compound.
Oh, we'll play the 2-cost Sentry later, right?
Yeah, but like Lamby has to commit to Avengers Compound, right? So then suddenly you're adding the Void to somewhere where you've chosen to play cards, which is a little bit scary.
What's happening right here, though, is we're going Wasp White Tiger Compound here. That seems to be what my thought process. Oh wait, no, we're not doing Wasp White Tiger. We're doing Wasp something else, and then White Tiger Sentry elsewhere.
Yeah, that looks good.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, that's good play. Just to stop the Sentry effect going off by filling Avengers Compound. Oh, just a casual Hulk. And then Spider-Woman was a great pickup because there's already... Yikes.
You hate to see it.
Yeah, someone call the authorities. Something's happened here.
I get what Bynx was setting up. I'm picking up what you're putting down here, but sometimes Lockjaw has other ideas.
I mean, it's difficult because from Bynx's side, he's going to make the retreat, take the 4 damage. I like that Bynx didn't say, oh, well, I've snapped, I've got to stay in now. You know, I like that a lot. Good restraint. But I think Bynx made a completely fair play, right? It was X into this because there was Lockjaw and no Wasp. And then you do have to think, generally speaking, well, why wouldn't Lamby play Wasp that turn if he had it? So I think there was a reasonable expectation to say, oh, they've not drawn Wasp yet. They're just preempting Lockjaw. They're going to hope they draw it or do something next turn. So I'll play the X, try and overpower it. But it just did not pay off with what came out.
There is no other card in Lamby's deck that would have won that lane outside of the Hulk, correct?
Off the top of my head, I want to agree with that, yes.
I think it might be. I think Enchantress would have. Because
Enchantress
would have. Right. But I want to say it was pretty unlikely for that to happen. And then here we're starting with the bully ball. Lamby has a curve. Bynx has it. Oh, Bynx is going for the bully ball. I just assumed that was going to be bully ball for Lamby, but like Bynx coming in with just like, I have Nightcrawler Okoye. I have other good cards to play. I'm just gonna go.
And this is also interesting. This is the flip side of the winner bullying, is the player losing knows they have to do something big, right? But for me, Lamby still has the power, because Lamby just looks at his hand and says, is this a good enough hand? No, I don't think it's good enough. I'll lose 1 health to your 4. I am still very ahead. So
It's the dab.
yeah, so like Lamby can like do that 4 times and still be on even footing with Bynx, right? And that is the power of having such an early big lead.
Yeah, he gets to do those for free.
Yeah.
Ooh, is Bynx gonna snap this hand? Based on how he's been playing, I thought it was possible.
Potentially. I'm still trying to work out how big these Devil Dinosaur Mystiques actually get, because it's the same with the Dark Hawk, right? Oh yeah, the hub definitely helps. So does the Forge. Fair enough.
Oh, they're both.
All
right, we got the snap from both players. They are willing to just say, this is what my deck does, and it better be good enough, because if it's not good enough, I'm not winning a long game anyway.
Yeah, it's just like a high noon style, right? They just walk a few paces for a couple of turns, turn around, and both just snap at the same time. Like, I like it.
So we're
though.
looking at I guess not a very big storm, a larger than normal storm coming in here. And since Lamby doesn't have ways to get rid of the hood, it's a pretty compelling thing, in my opinion.
It is. I'm just worried about, like, you still expect. Excuse me. You still expect to need some kind of follow up, right?
I mean, how
for
much
Bynx?
follow up? Because like we can follow it up and then just win another lane with Dino Mystique, presumably. Enchantress aside, shouldn't we put that Nightcrawler? Yeah, I guess it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I like this Drax because
I like the Drax too.
It's only 6 power difference. 6 power is not that difficult for Lamby on turn 4, or at least having options there.
We're not Draxing. We are Nightcrawlering, and I feel like if we wanted a Nightcrawler, we would Nightcrawler. Roving the Quinjet's kind of interesting, actually. I kind of see where he's going with this.
Yeah, the biggest problem here Bynx has is he knows that Lamby has 1 card that costs 1 that evens up the right side in the flooding. Right?
Yes.
So that's the issue. If Lamby commits 1, the demon plus a sneeze, right? Lamby's suddenly ahead in flooding, which cannot be what Bynx is after.
I think that Bynx might be trying to cook up a Professor X YOLO here. I think that might be where his head is at right now.
Oh, but has he looked at Lamby's deck? There's a lot of good drops in that, right? And now he's just played Coulson, so it's like, oh.
I knew he would at least consider it. I knew he would at least be like, all right, let's do it. Let's go.
What about Thor? Like mid, let's say. Thor mid. Oh, okay, maybe.
I want him to do it so bad.
Yeah, I want to see if it happens.
So bad.
I think turn 6 Drax could be interesting. Just because Bynx is going to be happy about locking up 1 location with the flooding, then turn 6 Drax, because then he can just secure the 2nd location. But that is also much better when you have a 2-drop to pair with it, and currently Bynx does not have that. So really tricky decision to be made here. I think if there's something that's not the Devil Dinosaur this turn or YOLO X, it's definitely Thor. I think Drax is your turn 6 option, and you hope to draw a 2.
Oh, that leader is just devastating here, isn't it?
I completely
We
forgot
have the
that Bynx had
Nightcrawler
Chavez.
moving over if we want, right? This plays us through, right? If we get leadered here, if they put leader in the middle, we are dead. But if they play something else, we could pull it off. That dino is going to be 11. We're adding 13
look at
to the
this.
Shadowland.
Yeah, but look at this. Reduce a mid, Kazar, it'll buff the Quinjet, the Ninja, the Demon, the Hood, and then still have Enchantress for the left side or mid now.
Kazar left. I think this covers everything, right? Because Kazar is adding 6. We go to 14. Bynx adds a total of 13, bringing him to 11. So Lamby's going to win the mid and the left here.
This was disgusting. The Quinjet, obviously not now, but like the Zabu kicking in as well.
The multiple Zabus that he got a Zabu off the hub and then played another Zabu and then generated more 4-cost cards. And now he's playing Kazar, Enchantress, and Medusa all
I told you,
turn.
it's Coulson. Scariest card in the game for battle mode. It's because what's Bynx supposed to do, right?
Yeah, there was nowhere he could have gone.
Play around Kazar, Enchantress, Medusa that turn. Do you know what I mean? It's so difficult to do.
Yeah, there was nowhere he could have gone there.
Yeah, Lamby just removes Bynx from not only this game, but this tournament. I will say, I very much, even though that was Fast and Furious, I definitely enjoyed that game because the double snaps, the big pop-offs early on is something I very much enjoy about certain players when they really get into battle mode.
Yeah, that was a great game. Like we saw a tale. It's really a tale of two strategies when you look at the last 2 games that we've watched, right? There's that game where both players were willing to hard commit, just be like, this is what my deck does. If I'm not winning this, I'm not winning any of these games. And then the previous game where both players were a little bit more skittish and a little bit like, okay, I'll snap this, but a lot more willing to retreat when their opponent snapped.
Was an absolute shootout, and I think the perfect way to end day 1 here of the Snap Arena Draft Invitational. Let's bring up the final bracket and take a last look before we sign off here today. So there you have it. Our semis are set, where these players will be competing for a $500 prize pool. You got Kawa taking on Ordinary Harry. You've got Speci against Lamby. Before we wrap things up today here, Raven, any last thoughts? Takeaways, highlights.
Yeah, I think I think it was super fun. I think draft mode is just great. I think this tool is awesome. But I think that honestly, the outcomes of all the games were what I would have chosen if I had to. Right? We kind of talked about it early on. So I think the players I thought would have gotten the better end of the stick of the draft mode did pay off for them. I'm just very interested to check out the semifinals because those are some great matchups we're going to have coming up because all of those players have developed at least a decent or solid understanding of draft. And then when they start drafting against each other, might start seeing some little ninja picks coming out halfway through to, oh, you want that, do you? Well, no, that's mine now. And we'll maybe see if that comes out to play.
I think we saw the experience differential come out to play in these first few games, and I'm definitely excited to see what it ends up looking like when players who I think navigated the draft very, 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 very smartly in the first round end up going up against the other players who I think navigated the draft very, 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 very smartly.
Do not miss it. Same snap time, same snap channel for day 2 of the Infinity Gauntlet Snap Arena Draft Invitational.